Hello, everybody. So we are at podcast episode 4 of the Geeks and Barbells show. And I am here in Ubud, which is a small little town. I guess you could call it a town in central Bali, where, as usual, as I've been for quite a while, I'm sick again. It's just one thing after another over here. I have really bad luck. But I'm pretty confident that I've narrowed it down to I just don't get along with air conditionings in this country or any other country for that matter. I'm just not used to coming from Canada. I'm not used to having these little air conditioning machines that are just pumping cold air into your room. I'm used to just normal cold for quite a while. And then when I have had air conditioning in my life, it's generally been centralized aircon, which is just much cleaner and much fresher. It's not the same thing as these little machines. So today I am joined by, for those who cannot see in video, oh wait, I'll go this way. There we go. This is my friend Jimmy. He's a mask on the wall, for those of you who can't see. I'm in a pretty cool place. So today, feeling creative, I wanted to talk a little bit about animation and how the industry is shifting as more and more people become graphic designers, illustrators, and are able to create huge audiences through social media like Instagram, a little bit of Facebook. I really feel Instagram has pushed this quite a bit, but there's more and more sites like ArtStation and other ones that are really helping really talented artists to find audiences, get commissions, actually be able to work purely freelance and not even have to be stuck with a company. And I've seen lots and lots of people who, because advancing tech on computers, they are creating even small animated shows with like really cool combat scenes and designs and all sorts of different stuff that in the past were really just things pretty big studios did, and that's all you saw. And one of the main things I wanted to discuss is how storylines can be introduced into the future, into the animated sphere. For most of our lives, I mean, animation has come out of two spheres. Either you're looking at the Disney Pixar version, or you're looking at anime sort of like stemming from manga, more Japanese style. Excuse me for my nose. And so you've pretty much seen just, Disney, Pixar. You can have definitely some seriousness within those movies, but they're generally more geared towards children. Doesn't mean I don't watch them like crazy. I love Disney and Pixar films so much. And then, of course, you have anime such as, Studio Ghibli, which I'm a huge fan of. And then, of course, you have all the anime that's online and whatnot. But they end up becoming very stylistically similar. I mean, most Disney Pixar films have a relatively similar style of graphic design, and the storylines are all kind of stemmed around family and that kind of stuff, which is cool. And anime, which is primarily Japanese. I mean, if you are not someone who grew up watching anime, many times it's very difficult for you to get into it because the Japanese, especially through translation, which you lose a lot when you're listening to it in English or another language, a lot of anime is just a little bit weird. There's a lot of awkward sexual innuendo that comes out of a lot of anime and manga. Uh, the Japanese just really love ecchi. The interrelationships between men and women, or just even gay couples and lesbian couples within anime and manga, just tends to be as well. It's very limited for people from Western culture. It's just not how we approach relationships in general. It's a very different thing. Um, and you just get the interactions between friends and everybody. It's strange. They can get extremely philosophical in their more, let's say, fantasy and science fiction related works. And even for someone like me, who I read tons of philosophy works, and I'm pretty open minded. I'm a writer. I can understand these kinds of concepts to a large degree. and I'll be watching Japanese anime and be lost sometimes because it makes no sense, literally no sense. Now it's very possible again because of translation issues, but it's also because it's very much a Japanese culture to be very metaphorical, very vague, very just nonsensical, and a lot of other things. So you lose out a lot in that. So what is it that's gonna bring more people into the animated sphere? I mean, already we've seen a huge surge online because of sites like Netflix and Crunchyroll, and just more distribution. There's more companies getting into it. Um, so that's really interesting. But the main issue is more so where are the stories going to come from? A lot of the times, I mean, most Japanese anime is based off mangas, but mangas are very unique in their style and how they're written and the storylines. And for Pixar and Disney animation, many times are actually based off of old folk tales and whatnot, old mythologies and things like that, and then meshed together and remade into a children's story. So for those of us who just love animation, want to see really, really cool stories, I have always been a little bit confused as to why novels are not used more in the animated sphere. You know, with the popularity of things like Game of Thrones and now The Witcher is doing pretty well. So you're seeing books made into film or TV show and doing relatively well. But the thing is that those shows that were based off of books, many times it's because the magic systems, the world is not too complex. It's more medieval in style. And so it's not like crazy expensive or difficult to do. But then when you're talking about certain things, so for example, for anyone who's a fantasy reader, let's say Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, or Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archives, or what's another example? Uh, Heck, I'd even say, even though it's been made into a TV show now, it's supposedly doing well, his Dark Materials. There's a lot of fantasy novels and science fiction novels as well that are incredible stories, incredible, amazing characters, beautiful worlds, interesting combat systems and magic systems and all sorts of things. And they would do so well as an anime. I mean, the fact that you can bring the magic systems to life through animation in a way that we just will never be able to do, at least not in the foreseeable future, not for a long while. Not in this the way that animation can. Animation, things that don't make sense. There's like a huge water noise outside. I don't know if you can hear all the bugs like buzzing around me. I'm really like in the center of a forest in a certain way. But so there are things that when you watch in an animated style are acceptable that just don't make much sense in a real life sort of setting. And so it is something we are losing out on when we choose to continuously try to force these books into movies and film when they could just be made in animated style. And there is enough of an audience now that companies can make tons of money. I mean, Netflix is making more and more TV shows. You have HBO Plus, Disney Plus. All these companies can make books into animated films, and you will have an audience. Huge amounts of young people love this stuff, and the older generations, well, I say older, I'm going to be 32, so people in their 30s and their 40s who grew up with this stuff love it. We want to see more on these platforms, but it's always Japanese style. In worst case, there's tens of thousands of readers out there who love these fantasy and science fiction, any kind of fiction style novel, and we will never be able to see them in a TV show or movie because it's so expensive, it's so complex. Whereas in an animation, it's no more expensive than any other kind of animation that's come out. But unfortunately, we don't have the studios because these are more American, Western style novels. We don't get them because everything is coming out of the Japanese sphere. So it's very problematic in terms of the quality of work and the interesting storylines that are just being lost in terms of what we can see be brought to life. Trying not to cut off my nose right now. So for anyone out there, this is a call for help. For the graphic designers, for the illustrators, for the filmmakers, for the people working in animation, if you happen to hear this, we need to get more of our ideas for future works from novels that are pre-existing. There is so many amazing books out there that could be brought to life in the animated sphere, and we're missing out on them. There's a lot of people who are just not reading books anymore, and the only way they're going to see these stories is if they're on television. And so if we want the younger generations to see these amazing books, this has to be done. It has to. Uh, Obviously, there's probably things that I know nothing about that makes part of this difficult. Maybe the rights to to all this stuff, and how much you have to pay the author. If the author's passed away, I don't know. So I'm definitely not an expert on that, but it would be something to think about for all the thousands and thousands and thousands of people working in this sphere. When they're looking for ideas and they're struggling to come up with new stuff, when we already have dozens of works of amazing quality that could be brought into the sphere. So yeah, I'm going to keep this very short today because my nose is driving me crazy. I can barely speak. So for those of you who are actually tuning in and listening, thank you very much. For those of you who managed to listen through the whole thing with my sniffling, doubly thanks. And I wish everyone the best. Hope you stay healthy, don't get a little cold like I do. And remember, as always, to let your geek freak fly even when you feel like shit. Have a good day. May the force be with you all. Peace.